This episode is brought to you by Town Brewery. Go to townbrewery.ca, use the promo code Gavin at checkout, and receive 10% off your order. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to, this is going to be episode 24 of the Gabbin with Gavin Podcast. We are in 1990 studios. We've got beers from Town Brewery, and we've got a very special guest joining us today. Dr. Mysterion is one half of the group Sentimentalists. They were a quarter finalist on America's Got Talent, and they're one of the rare few that fooled Penn and Teller on their show, Fool Us. I'm very excited to have him in studio today. This one's going to be a lot of fun. Everybody, please welcome Dr. Mysterion to the podcast.
Well, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man.
I should have brought the trophy.
I would have been.
I didn't even think.
Hey,
the mentalist who didn't think.
That is fantastic. This is going to be a lot of fun, man. Thank you very much for taking the time to come in. There's a lot of credits that you're saying in the top there. There's a lot to get to. Before we kind of touch on everything, could you explain to the people who are just tuning in, might not know you, the difference between a magician and a mentalist?
Mentalists charge more. That's basically the difference. No, the difference is we're cousins. A magician will do sleight of hand. A magician, we like to say, would do sleight of mind. We use five senses to create the idea of the supernatural, be it mind reading or precognition or telekinesis, any number of different things. We can create that in the real world. And when I was a kid, I was growing up, there was a guy named Kreskin. He was on television on the off days, and on the even days, it was another guy called Doug Henning. And Doug Henning was a magician. He would do things like sawing his assistant in half, where Kreskin would do something amazing like having his check hidden somewhere in the city of Manhattan and have like an hour to find it. And then he would find it. And I found that more impressive because it was like as if he had some kind of a superpower. And so I kind of wanted to navigate that direction. I was very interested in magic. My uncle was a magician and we used to see magic shows all the time. It was when I was a kid, very popular, way more than it is now, form of entertainment for kids. And so I always kind of had a knack for knowing what the magicians were doing. I knew how they were doing it. But with the mentalists, there was this sort of, what the hell's going on? And so I started to figure out bits and pieces that I could with the limited access to the information that I had. But as I got a little older, I'm self-taught. And so through trial and error and a little bit of research, I ended up getting what I need.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I think like doing my research for this, seeing some of the tricks you've done, I don't get it. Like it's insane to think about trying to even reverse engineer it, break it down. A question off the top, I think maybe people might ask this as well. Is it weird for you? Do you have a hard time being around people? Do people act strange when they think, you can read their thoughts?
No one. People usually freak out. Mm-hmm. I've never had, no. I have had people where they've been back off, where people have either been super religious or they're just scared. Mm-hmm. I just leave them alone. But generally people are navigate towards it. They're blown away because listen, we did an event about, I would say just before the lockdown. So let's just say 3 months ago. And the woman's response was, I was expecting something worse. And I just burst out laughing. I said, what a strange compliment. That's not a compliment.
A little backhanded.
That's not a compliment. And she was like, no, she goes, you guys were incredible. She goes, I've seen so many magicians and they've just been meh. And this was just I didn't know what to expect. That's what she was trying to say. Mm-hmm. And I found it very funny. But people tend to look at it from a skeptical perspective. And then we turn their belief system upside down. And they don't know how to, as you said, reverse engineer it. And that could be the same said with Penn and Teller. Steffi Kay and I are a duo act. We're the Sentimentalists. And 99.9% of what we do, we've created that content. So not only are the people like Penn and Teller or the audience unable to figure us out, the magicians can't figure us out because there's no research to look for. You'd have to literally just sit me down and ask me. There's no papers or lecture notes that we've never did a lecture for that purpose. I don't want anyone knowing until maybe, I'm about to die or something. And even that, I don't think it's theirs to have, because the amount of mental gymnastics involved, if you knew the inside methods or the way that Steffi and I are able to communicate with your thoughts, I think you'd be more impressed knowing with the amount of difficult, as I call it, mental gymnastics involved, than not knowing and just going, holy shit, he just read our mind.
Yeah. Well, I'm basically convinced that you're magic after watching.
Totally.
So,
Yeah.
and I mean, I know you're saying there's lots of technical things. I'm convinced you can read.
It's not technical in the sense of there's a trick. It's technical in the sense of there's a way.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. Fair enough. That is so cool. We will get to we'll talk more about that Penn and Teller. And you really are fooling the best of the best.
Mm-hmm.
They're the top people in your field don't understand how you guys are doing it, so it's incredible. But as a young man, how does one decide? I know you said you had a family member who was a magician.
Yeah.
What are like early gigs as a mentalist? Like, how do you start coming up in that
It's
field?
funny you mention that. A guy I know who lives in Halifax was at my first professional show, and I was on a variety night, and he had the lineup on a printed piece of paper. I had taken it off of the green room door, and I kept it, and he took it. And he messaged me about 2 weeks ago, and he said, hey, look what I found. And he just actually mailed it to me, and I got it in the mail about 3 or 4 days ago.
So cool.
So it's so good. Like, I'm like, this is a beautiful little piece to remind me of where I started. So how did I start? I was doing a day job. I had a day job. I'm a chef by trade. I had my Red Seal, or had. It's probably expired now. It's probably a rotted seal right now. But I had my Red Seal. I was working in a catering company. I was working at different venues, doing restaurant work. And sometimes I would go into private functions at people's homes, and I would see other entertainment come in, and I would see the logbooks. I'd see how much they were making. And I thought, I can do this. Like, this isn't, what they did is excellent. I said, I can do this too. So I started to kind of go on different variety nights, open mic nights, cut my teeth in that market. Friends of mine were in burlesque. I would go on between the acts and, get my my experience working with rough crowds. And then people would just start booking me for private functions at their homes. And then, of course, I'm at their home for, whatever, somebody's anniversary. And then somebody there books me for their work party. An agent sees me at the party. They take me on, start working. And it just snowballed. It just became kind of out of control at one point. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to go full-time into it. I didn't know how logically feasible that would be. But the Toronto Star called me and they said, we want to do an interview with you. We just saw you perform. You guys, you're just fucked. So I said, yeah, sure, no problem. I did an interview with them. And I used to pull this gimmick where I'd have a baby in a jar and all this creepy shit. And I still have that stuff, but it's kind of a different thing now. But I would walk around Toronto with this real baby in a jar. And I have this massive scar on my stomach, right? You can see that. That's not from a baby in a jar. I'll say that. I've said that 100 times. That's from an operation. But I thought, Christ, what a great story. So I'd walk around with this bag and it would say $10 or no, it was $5. See what's in the bag, a dead baby. People would, let me see what's in the bag. No, $5, right? So I was making money doing this and somebody got wind of it. So anyway, they ran this article and I had a show at the Gladstone Hotel probably on the Friday of that week. And I was up in the top room and a guy come up and goes, hey, did you look outside? And there was literally a lineup going around the block. And I went, what the fuck's that for? They went, you. I said, no, it's not. I'll have like 30, 40 people. They're like, dude, it's sold out. I'm like, oh my God. And then I knew something was connecting. Now, it was a lot of trial and error, But, and do I regret those? In a way, I kind of regret those shows because they're a little dark and it got rid of a lot of opportunity. A lot of people were like, you're too weird. I can't use you. But at the same time, the flip side of the coin, I had a lot of people saying, bring it on. So it was kind of this thing. It's said and done. It was 20 years ago. But as time went by, I started to do a lot of work at a place in Toronto called the Academy of Spherical Arts. And they were a billiards event venue. And a lot of companies, Sick Kids Hospital, Hospital of Ontario Pension Plan, like all these different companies would do their events there. And they would hire me to come in and I would mingle. The amount of work I got out of this place, man. I was getting like 100 shows a year. from them and the runoff. And then I started to make good money. And then I was like, this is it. Like I can't go back on any other line of work. This is great. This is fun. And that's how it kind of happened. There was no real plan. It just sort of was what it was. I think, looking back, I guess I was good. I guess I was different enough that people were buying it. Not in the sense of believing it, but buying it physically, going, this is much different than anything we've ever seen. And I got a lot of heat too. Like back when I first started, a lot of the magic acts in the city were like, what's going on here? We don't like this. It's not traditional. You're like a vampire or something. They didn't get it.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit what you think.
I could see that, like the old heads, the kind of traditional guys giving it. And like one thing you kind of touched on at the start too was that magicians, it's more almost obvious, it's sawing in half.
Sure.
Was it hard to get booked kind of explaining? Do you think maybe even like the character that you did, having, the baby in the jar, stuff like that, was it kind of to kind of give you an immediate explosion, like sawing somebody in half?
I think that could have been it.
For somebody who might not understand what a meant. I feel like it's almost hard to explain.
Well, I think
how amazing
it's funny that you touched on that, and I've never thought of that before. That the pop was the sideshow baby and the weird shit. That was the sizzle. But the steak was the show.
Come for the baby, stay for the show.
I guess you're right. I never thought of it that way. A lot of people didn't know what I did. And then when they came in to see, they were left speechless. And there's lots of articles where people would say, I came into a show and there was a werewolf and burlesque dancers, but forget the tits and ass. This guy's phenomenal. Like this guy's just, he's decorating the stage with unnecessary extra entertainment, which is just me, very extra with everything I do. But the guy himself, he's good. And I would kind of look back at those articles and go, oh, I see what they're saying. They're saying, you don't need all that superfluous crap to be seen. When I kind of stopped performing in the local and international burlesque and variety scene, and you have to remember I was concurrently working in the corporate industry as well. But when I stopped working in that scene, my, at lack of a better word, my weird level dropped, and I became a little bit more streamlined, a little bit more of a polished. Yeah. It was still good, great. But I was actually not happy. I was kind of going, I don't want to do this anymore. I've plateaued. I don't know what to do. The articles stopped. I stopped caring. I'm not a scenester, so I'm never in with what the new performers are doing. I have no clue what's going on. I'll go to the Magic Castle. Everyone's like, hey, did you see so-and-so? I'm like, hell yeah, I saw him. I had no fucking clue what they're talking about. I just don't care. Like, I'll go watch the show and I'm like, that was great, or it wasn't.
Can I pause you real quick?
Yeah.
Can you, because this is something I kind of had heard about, didn't really know, kind of dug more in my research. Can you tell everybody what the Magic Castle is?
Sure. So the Magic Castle is a members-only club in Hollywood. Steffi Kay and I are members. And in order to get in, you have to be invited in with a member or be a member. There's no other way in. The venue is divided into 4 rooms. There's a close-up gallery, which holds about maybe 25 people. There's a parlor, which holds about 60 people. And then there's the palace, which is the main room. And then there's little pockets around the venue where there are corners where people can perform that are booked to be there. On any given night, you can see 4 or 5 shows. There's the Academy of Magical Arts is the sort of the sanctioning body. You nailed it. That run it, and they hire in magic acts. They've hired in everybody. Everyone's there. Now, when we went in 5 years ago, we went in blind. So we had the amazing Jonathan. Do you know who he is?
Yeah, I watched this documentary.
So the amazing Jonathan vouched for us and said, no, you got, because he's a buddy of mine. And he goes, no, you got to see these guys. You got to see these guys. And the literal words from the booking manager there was, they better be good. So we went in, we did a week in the parlor, which was like 55, 60 people, 3 shows a night. Okay. Overnight, everyone's like, these guys are amazing. So at the end of that week, we made so many friends and we loved the place. We were already members. We had got our membership kind of in a weird way. Usually you have to go in and audition. I sent in video. And I think it was because of reputation and some heavy hitting backers that they gave us the membership without the audition. The video was the audition. So it wasn't without the audition, but it was the video. And plus I'm not a local member. I'm called like a satellite member because I don't live there.
Yeah.
So anyway, that being said, we killed it there. Then they asked us back. I think that was in like, let's just say May of whatever year that was. Then they asked us back for Halloween. And I went, hell yeah.
Perfect.
No, I'm lying. Christmas.
Okay.
It was Christmas because it was Halloween. We were at Wonderland and I got the message, can you come for Christmas? And I went, yeah, I hate Christmas. I don't want to do Christmas. I don't want to hang out with my family.
Halloween's your Christmas.
Halloween's my birthday too, which is fucked up. But I said, no, I'm out. So we went to Christmas. And you know what? I got to be honest with you. On Christmas Day, we didn't work. But on the 26th to New Year's. But that Christmas Day, I would have to say it was probably one of my most, like a memory that would be one of the best memories of my life. It was just that Christmas Day. We were in LA. We went to see Dean Martin's grave. We had pancakes at Denny's and we were ready to take on the castle for the second time. It just felt like it was like top of the world for me, right? Like simple.
Storybook.
Great awesome. Storybook thing, right? But anyway, we did that. So the Magic Castle, it's just a wonderful place. And, you know, I've been in there and we've had nice long chats with people like Dick Van Dyke, Paul Rubens. There's been members of the NFL that have appeared. Saturday Night Live casts have been there. I've seen Kathy Griffith there, Katie Siegel there. I mean, there's celebrities there all the time. Jason Alexander, he was there for his birthday. And then we went outside and we saw him waiting for his car. And I was like, hey. And I went up and I think he'd seen the show and said, oh, I just saw your show inside. It was great. We took a photo. Nice guy. There's so much action in this venue. It's a beautiful, I mean, it goes back to the early 60s. It was founded by the Larson family and they would bring in all the top acts and have a clubhouse. And then as lots of different changes over the years, but now it's rammed every night. You go in there, it's hopping. I love it in there.
Amazing. Yeah, it was something I really, I'd always kind of heard about on the back burner, but doing my research, read you were a member and looked into it some more. And they call it like the most unique exclusive club in the world. Like,
it is.
It's such a cool thing. So it's cool to hear from somebody who's really a part of it.
It's very exclusive. Like you're not allowed to take any photographs in there, no video. Like even me, I don't have footage of me. I mean, no, that's not true. There's footage of me performing in there, but it's sanctioned.
Yeah.
So there'll be like, certain angle, no shots of the audience, that kind of thing. You got to be dressed in a suit. You can't wear jeans, all that crap. So it maintains a certain level of prestige.
Amazing. So, so we're at this point. We've talked about everything starting to pick up for you. Where you've moved to LA at this point?
I'm back home.
You're back home?
Yeah, I'm back home.
So
I'm going to LA.
Okay.
Don't know when.
Where are we at right now? So before you were, say like a member, this in between era is kind of like what I don't know about you. It's kind of where are you just doing as many acts as you can get?
Are you talking about right now?
No. I mean like in the past, before the
when I plateaued?
No, I just mean kind of like we talked where you started.
Yeah,
and we kind of touched on like some of the later stuff.
Yeah,
what's that rising era like?
The in between era was me essentially pounding the pavement.
Yeah,
going into venues in character. No one ever does that. Mm-hmm. I would go into venues in character and just start performing or doing something on the bus or doing something on the street or crashing the Edge 102.1 or crashing City TV and I started to get to know all the different media people. They knew I wasn't a whack job, so they would let me in. And then one time I remember, this is so long ago, I forgot about it until now. I remember they said to me, we just had you on, we can't have you on again. So I showed up wearing a Zorro mask and I said, it's not me, it's another guy. And they brought me on, right? So it was just so funny. And I poke fun at myself all the time. There's so many mentalists who are like, oh, I'm this thing. And it's like, come on, give me a break. I play it up. And so I think that was where people started to take note. And I think that I hit so many different markets. Pro wrestling, right? Worked in wrestling for years, managed for years, had Victory Wrestling, I was the executive producer for years. I worked with wrestling since the 90s. I had the burlesque scene. I was working and going to Vegas, New York, Toronto, everywhere, Vancouver, you name it. I was doing the magic circuit. I was doing all that stuff. I had the toy circuit. I'm a toy collector. The oddity circuit. I was doing this show Oddities. I did a filming with them. I would go to New York, travel around, buy all these weird, human skulls and all this sort of thing. So all those different markets, I was able to sort of fine-tune my craft and build an audience.
Awesome.
And all that time I was doing everything like a bar mitzvah or a wedding or a company party or somebody's backyard barbecue.
Yeah. You're an up and comer. You're getting gigs.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. It's so cool
And
to hear about the
I don't
journey.
turn down gigs. If people call me and go, I want you to come to my barbecue, if you pay, I'll come.
That's awesome.
Somebody paid me a couple nights ago. They were like, do you want to come in and do something at a party? I'm like, yeah, sure. It's like 15 girls, 30-year-old girls. They're like, yeah, we want you. I'm like, yeah, okay.
We will put up all your info.
No problem.
If anybody wants to book,
Yeah.
hey, Dr. Mysterion is available.
Yeah, so we're the Sentimentalists because I really don't do the
Yep.
solo anymore.
Absolutely.
Which is what gets to this. So at this point where I felt I had plateaued, I was asked to host a beauty pageant kind of talent show at Lee's Palace. And I kind of went, I don't know. They asked, come on, host it. So my girlfriend at the time, I said, okay, well, she's going to co-host it with me. So one on, one off, or whatever way we set it up. And there was all these pinup girls that were performing different, whatever their talent was. And Steffi Kay was out there and she was doing speed drawing of like pinup girls, like super quick drawing. And I remember she always laughs about it because I said to her, when I first saw her, I saw dollar signs, right? Which is true.
Yeah.
And we connected and we became friends and she started driving me to shows. And then she started taking part in the shows. And then she became part of the show. And now she's the front of the show. Which is incredibly important because it gave me a second life and in a way that I never expected I would do, which is a two-person telepathy act. Very few in the world.
Yeah. Shout out to Steffi, man, because she's awesome.
Super awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, you guys have got awesome rapport together, and she comes off as somebody who doesn't know a ton about magic and that. She does. She comes off as like she looks like the perfect partner.
Yeah.
Like she looks like she has that look. She has that old school kind of magic.
Absolutely.
Like, I love it.
Well, we always say we take you back to the golden age of magic.
Yeah.
So when you're looking at what she does, whether it be on Instagram or on stage, you're stepping back to the 20s and 30s, and that's sort of an era in magic that we really enjoy because it's just after the boom. The magic boom was the teens. Okay. And then Houdini died in the mid-20s. And then magic went on a little bit of a dive. But in that zone of time, there were a lot of live acts that were basically dime acts that you would go see because it was the Depression. And you could go in and see 5 or 6 acts for a dime. And you got to see some pretty good stuff because it was people that were making their living on these little circuit shows. And it's those acts like Nightmare Alley, that kind of act where we were like, that's what we want. And that's kind of what I was already. I was sort of this mad doctor sort of, there was a guy called Dunninger that was around in the 50s and early and late 40s. He had a radio show, a radio mentalism show. Okay. And his name was the Great Dunninger. And they would always illustrate him with like electric bolts coming out of his head or shock, you know what I mean? Or he would be like all as if it was some sort of a scientific experiment, reading your mind and this sort of thing. So I always liked that era. And in the 30s, this is true. They had a place called the Rhine Academy for Psychic Research at Duke University. And they would test, like in Ghostbusters, they did, this was real. This wasn't a magic thing. This was a real place. And Dr. Rhine was given all this money to do the, and that to me was the era. That was that sort of in-between zone between the last frontier of believing in bullshit. Really, it was. Prior to that, between the Civil War and the First World War, there were so many deaths in North America that it was the mediums. They were the ones that were making the money. People going to psychics and mediums to communicate with the dead. By the time the 20s rolled around, Houdini was debunking all these mediums. He was in Massey Hall debunking Anna Ava Faye in Toronto. He debunked everybody. He was like at what's his name? The Amazing Randy, who actually, believe it or not, grew up just outside here. He would like literally across the street was where he grew up. But he would do all these debunking. So that style of spirit magic went from being esoteric and presented as real to presented as show. And that was the 30s. So there's so much in that little cup that we can take from and go, this is what we present to you as an act. And it seems to work.
And
I love it.
There's so much just authenticity, even like without knowing all the magic sides and that. Like I have the vintage store, and just knowing you guys will wear actual vintage clothes from that era and that, like, everything comes off as, so it's not costume. There's nothing like, it's all the detail to everything. And I think, I mean, without knowing anything about how stuff happens, you've mentioned there's crazy detail stuff that like we can't pick up on. And you guys clearly paid attention to all the detail within the act. I think that's why it comes off.
You can read a mind too, believe it or not. I'm not kidding you. So if I thought of a playing card right now, okay, I'm going to think of a playing card. And I'm going to transfer it into your mind. What card do you feel I'm telling you? Say it out loud.
10 of Hearts.
10 of Hearts, look. To those listening, I'm holding out a pack of cards, and I'm just going to find the 10 of Hearts. And that's the 10 of Hearts, correct?
That is.
Just going to place it on the table. Is there any reason why you picked the 10 of Hearts and not any of these other cards?
Not any reason.
Not any reason. What color is this pack?
It's a red pack.
Red back deck.
Yep.
You could have picked any card. You want to change your mind or keep the 10 of Hearts? It's up to you. It's up to you, not him.
I'll keep it. I'll keep it.
Because it's the one I was thinking of. It's the only blue-backed card. So you were thinking what I was thinking and proved my point.
You did.
Anybody can do it. With the right training, a child can do it with 30 years experience and practice.
All right. Well, clip that.
There you go.
Oh man, that's awesome. For if you've been watching this far and you had some skepticism or whatever, take that.
There you go.
Yeah,
well, I mean, I could do so many different things
amazing,
right
man.
now and show you what it is that I do. You want to try something else?
I would love to.
So, give me any topic in the world.
Any topic in the world.
Any topic in the world. TV shows, anything.
How about music?
Music.
No, we didn't.
I'm going to
talk about
pass
this
you
before.
a marker, and I should have a business card here. Sure do. I'm going to pass you a business card. On the back of the business card, I want you to print down the name of any band in the history of music. Now, listen, don't go for the obvious Beatles, Rolling Stones. Everyone goes for those two bands. I don't know why. Okay, maybe because they're the two most popular bands in rock history. I don't know. Don't go for Led Zeppelin, although that just went through your mind. And whatever you got, you're going to hand it to me face down so I don't see. And you can validate I'm not looking. I'm looking over here. Yep. And look, I'll just put it back in the wallet. So the truth, you had full choice of any band in the world, right?
Anything.
And it is a real band?
It's a real band. No tricks on my part.
It's not a band that people would people know the band?
People will know the band.
You're sure?
I think so. It's a little obscure maybe, but.
2 words?
It's 2 words.
Second word is beginning with an. Think about the second word.
Okay.
Look at me. Look at me. Never close your eyes. I could peek, you know. What's the first letter of the second word? Say it out loud.
M.
Yeah, that's what I'm sensing. Okay, I'm sensing the M. And you did put it in here. That is the name of the band right here. You're sure? That's the band? That's it? Okay. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to put it on the table. I want you to think about what it says on that piece of paper.
Okay.
Imagine it in your mind. It's not New Order, is it?
No.
I know, because that would be an M, but not an O. Is it like, oh, it's that band from the 90s. Maybe, listen, I might be wrong. I might be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm going to embarrass myself. Is it the band that sings that hey now, I'm an all-star? Is it them?
It is.
Is it Smash Mouth?
It is.
The fact that I even knew that? Yeah, there it is.
my God.
There it is.
All right, but we got to shut this down.
Yeah, that's it. So I can pick up, I can
That's
pick
incredible.
any information. I can sense it. And
Yeah, we've got our producer here. There was absolutely no...
there's no setup.
Yeah.
No.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah, I tried to think of something a little bit obscure too.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's funny. I don't know that that's the band. I just thought it might be the band just from back in the day.
Well, yeah,
there it is.
You've thrown me off. I can't remember any of my questions. I can't. That's incredible, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, thank you for doing that.
No problem. Keep doing them all day.
That's a first for the podcast. I'll tell you.
There you go.
I haven't not had my mind read on the pod.
No.
Awesome. Cool. Let's jump back a little bit.
Yeah, sure.
You were talking. I gotta center myself a little. That was crazy. One thing I'll say too is I even know we have a mutual friend, and he told me that he went to an event of yours, and he had a friend who was picked out of the audience.
Okay.
Who you brought up. So he was saying he knows there's no plants.
Who's the mutual friend?
Tanner Jameson.
Oh, Tanner.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Tanner.
an interesting story about Tanner. He lived at 78 Cadillac Avenue.
Oh, the haunted?
He lived in that house.
Oh, no way.
He was the next set of people that moved in, or two sets after.
Oh, when you told me haunted house, you told me about Canada's Wonderland.
Am I thinking of the same Tanner?
It might be the same fella.
How old is Tanner? 26?
About that, yeah. He's a little bit younger than me.
Big guy?
Yep.
Muscular?
Yep.
Yeah, it's
Probably
Tanner.
same fella. Yeah.
Yeah. He lived at 78.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, he lived at 78. So the story of that, so I lived in a house not too far from the studio, and I would wake up at night, see an apparition and all this shit. We moved out in the late 80s. In the early 2000s, Tanner lived in the house. My sister was his school friend, and he came up to me and said, I live in your old house, and turned out that he said that the house was also haunted and had the same experiences. They moved out, and then a few years later, I ended up going back to the house, and the current tenants had the same experiences. I want to buy the house.
Yeah.
I do.
That's awesome.
I would live there. Small, man. We had a family of 8 living in this place. I kid you not, it was about double the size of this room. The house is so small. I went in there, I couldn't believe and question how so many people could live in this little space.
What are
so weird.
While we're on the topic, what are some of what are places people should check out as far as haunted places that you'd recommend, or
in what way?
People will check out Ghost Roads, or what's something that's maybe
Kirby Road.
Yeah.
Kirby Road up in Vaughan is a really known space that apparently has all sorts of supernatural activity. There was a teenage girl who was killed there in the 90s in a car crash, and her spirit haunts the road. And there's all sorts of different energy problems. When people drive down the street, they see all sorts of a phantom truck, and there's a certain house that if they're parked in front of it, you can see someone in the tree. Right? I've gone there 10 times.
Yeah.
All I've seen is Italians in Woodbridge. What do you see? You know what I mean? It's what you get, right? There's a few great spaces in Toronto, though. There's the Mackenzie House, which is over by St. Mike's Hospital. If you can get a tour in that place, lots of people on the tour say they see a shadow figure. Colburn Lodge at High Park. Even though they're not open, you can still go to the lodge and check it out. It's one of the haunted spaces. There are, let me think, Museum Subway Station is haunted, and Bay Station is haunted by a woman on the tracks. A woman in a pink dress, I believe. You could smell perfume.
Really?
Yeah. Same with Old Mill. Old Mill's haunted as well. The platform.
I think it was something we were talking about before we jumped on the air here.
Yeah.
But could you tell us about your experience, in the haunted Cadillac?
Well, sure. I used to wake up in the morning and see a woman that would stare at me. My aunt at the time, my cousin, my uncle's fiance at the time, she visited, and she would say that she would see a cat. We didn't have a cat. My aunt was my other aunt. See, I was raised by my grandparents, so I had aunts and uncles, and she was in the bathroom, and the bathroom wall, behind the bathroom wall, is where the staircase. See, why I mentioned the house is so small, because so many people in this small space, and we all saw it.
Yeah.
You couldn't escape it. It was constantly there. I don't know how. So she was there, like literally from here to him away is like another room. So if there's something happening, someone's going to see it. It's constant. She was in the bathroom. She heard someone come up the steps, through the kitchen, around and down the hall, and turn and stand in front of the bathroom door. Her brother came home for lunch about 10 minutes later. She thought it was the brother first. She was saying, Tom, quit it. No answer. She heard the key. She shouted, Tom, someone's in the house at the end of the hall. He came running down. No one was there. I would wake up in the middle of the night and see shadows walking around. I was very susceptible to it. My aunt from Ireland came to visit, and she was staying in my grandmother's room. My grandma was sick at the time. She was dying in hospital. She woke up. She said, I saw your grandmother. I saw Pat in the room. No, she saw the female spirit. And so many, my aunt used to say to me, my grandmother's sister, my great aunt, she'd say to me, oh, when you're up tomorrow morning, don't make noise. You're always waking me up by opening the cabinets and shit. I'm like, dude, are you fine? I'm not even up.
Yeah.
You know, I would be in the living room watching cartoons. For those of you who don't know, we had Saturday morning cartoons at one point. And I would go into the kitchen to get something to eat. I'm a very organized person. Like, I'm neurotically organized. You probably noticed I put my crumpled paper, everything's lined up proper, right? So neurotic. So I know I didn't leave things out. So I went into the kitchen. I remember my regimen. It was a bowl of Shreddies and a fruit roll-up, okay? Every single Saturday, that was my breakfast. I'd put the milk away, put the cereal away, close the fridge, okay? Went into the living room, which was like 4 feet away, sat and ate. And when I came back into the kitchen, the fridge was open, milk was out, cupboards were open. And I'm like, someone up? I'm like, went downstairs, everyone's asleep. Went down the hall, everyone's asleep. And then just thought maybe I did it, maybe I don't know, closed it all up and kept watching cartoons. And then the more I thought about it, I thought, fuck, something's in the house. My grandmother was standing in the kitchen. Her son-in-law was in the living room. And I had supposed she said to him, can I make you something to eat? And he said, no, maybe later, or who knows. But she'd offered it. He came into the kitchen as she was tidying up a little while later and said, I'll have a snack. And she said to him, I don't mind making you something, but you should have told me when you walked up from downstairs and while I was cleaning. And he said, I never came up from downstairs. I've been in the living room the whole night. She said, no, you just came up from downstairs. You were standing behind me for like a minute and then went back into the living room. Nope. Not the case. So the house is haunted. Like, it was not. And I've asked the neighbor what has happened in the house, because there was one neighbor on the right who has lived there since the 60s. And he was a little boy, and he's in his 60s now. And I said, do you know what happened in the house? And I swear on my life, he said to me, we don't talk about it. So I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
maybe Tanner knows.
Jesus, man, I'm officially spooked. So let's.
I would live in the house. I would.
Yeah, you were saying you want to buy it.
I want to buy the house. It's 1.2 million. The fucking thing's the size of a shoebox. But I would buy the house.
Classic Toronto real estate.
Right. I would buy the house, but I'd put an extension on it, so I'd make it a bit bigger, or I'd build something in the backyard. The property's big. That's why I would buy the house, and I would have no problem living in it. I could live in it alone. I'd have no problem.
Hopefully, the next time we have you on the chat.
I have the house, there. Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that you freaked me out. I want to let's bring up something fun.
Okay.
I think you, to me, at my preteen phase and my teenager phase, you did the two coolest things I could have imagined.
What's that?
You were on The Zone.
Oh fuck yeah!
And you were on Kenny versus Spenny.
Yeah. And I spoke to Spenny last week.
That's awesome.
Those are like God, The Zone.
The Zone.
I used to be on The Zone all the time.
I was watching this and I had the biggest deja vu where I swear to God I watched that as a kid.
Probably did.
And because I watched it every day.
Yeah.
And
I was on The Zone a good few times.
When you bent the fork, and you had the classic
Yeah,
streak in the hair.
I can't get rid of it.
I swear when I watched that doing the research, I had the biggest flashback memory of seeing
Wild,
that.
huh?
Well, yeah.
Did you see the episode where I lay on the bed of nails on the zone?
Yes. When they
did you notice my hand?
No, what happened?
Watch it again.
Yeah.
As you see the hammer comes by, my hand is in its trajectory, and as it's coming down, I just happen to move it as it hits. Like we're talking like a fraction of a second. You can even hear the cameraman go, "Oh,
One, oh, hold on and go. Oh, wow.
How's that Cry for Action Friday? Thank you so much, Mysterion. And
like it's so good on kids' TV." I would take it to the extreme.
That would have been a hell of a clip.
I think I ate razors on the zone once, and they were like, "I don't know if this is HRDC approved," or you know what I mean? It's like I just pull out anyway. It's spirit stuff. They came to my house once, and they did stuff at my house. I think that was the last time I was on. I pulled out like things in jars, and they were like, I think it's a little much now.
Oh, man.
Yeah, Carlos is a good guy, and I'm so proud of him. He's on ET Canada now, and he's such a nice guy. He's a toy. I see him at toy shows sometimes.
So
Haven't
cool.
in a while, but I have seen him. He's such a nice guy.
For any like 90s kid, that is
that was the show.
that was the show. Yeah.
What was the other kid? Oh, Sugar.
Yep.
I've
Sugar
seen
Baby.
Sugar
Yep.
around as
Yeah.
well. I've seen Sugar around. And then there was another guy. I don't remember his name, but he used to come to our shows at Cherry Cola's all the time.
Oh, that's awesome.
I forget his name. He may have been Asian.
Oh, I do know exactly who you mean. He was one of the original.
Yeah.
Oh,
What's his name?
I know exactly who you mean. I can picture him. He's kind of longer hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used to talk to him all the time at Cherry Cola's at the burlesque shows.
I used to watch his show every day.
Yeah.
It's crazy. I can't
Anyway.
do it. But yeah, that's awesome. The Zone is the pinnacle for a 90s Canadian kid,
That's
I'd have
right.
to say. So
If no one knows what it is, it's a almost like our version of Nickelodeon.
exactly.
And it was the in-between bumper
Yeah.
for whatever shows
yeah.
were coming on.
If you've been watching and you couldn't quite place where you've seen Dr. Mysterion before, that's probably it.
where. Or
Yeah.
Kenny and Spenny.
Kenny, could you tell us about that?
You
Because that's
wouldn't believe how many people,
I bet,
like, when
cult following for that
it's
show.
ridiculous. Like, I went on that show blind. I didn't know what it was because I have a TV now. I have Netflix, everything. I don't watch anything. I read. I don't even know what's popular. Like, I might watch Boba Fett. That's about it.
Yeah.
I pay fucking $25 a month to watch Boba Fett. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't watch anything. So at that time, it's like 18 years ago. Ish. It was like in 2004 or something, 2006 or 5 or whatever. But it was like a good while back. And I got a phone call from Storm and Shadow, who were in the episode with me. They were the two new age hippies that were in the episode. And they said, "Would you like to be on this show?" And I thought, sure, it's press. I don't care what it is. Put me on. So they said, you should watch the show. And somehow I got a copy of season 1. I don't know if they gave it to me or if I borrowed it. I don't know. But I ended up watching a few episodes and going, oh, this is kind of cool. Not realizing how many people watched it. So they hooked me up with Kenny. And they came to my house and they filmed the segments in my apartment. And they filmed me doing some magic, and we set up a story about a haunted house, which was really not haunted. But we came up with some concept for this dead kid that died in this house and haunted it, this sort of thing. And then they would just intersplice sepia tone of me giving Kenny evil ideas through the episode. And everyone I know say that's one of their favorite episodes.
It is a great
Come
one.
on. And I loved it. Like, I watched it a couple times. I have it on DVD somewhere. But I mean, I'm telling you this right now. I've been stopped so many times for Kenny and Spenny to take a photo and an autograph. Holy shit, you were on Kenny and Spenny. This is so funny. I was in a pawn shop about a year ago. And I was wearing a toque and a jacket. You wouldn't even know it was me. And they're like, right where you're sitting, there was 2 kids that were not kids, but our age, kind of your age more so. Picked up a copy of the DVDs and said, "Oh fuck, it's season 3. I need this one, whatever." And I kind of looked over and went, I didn't say anything. And they were like, oh, this is the one with Mysterion. And I went, oh, fuck, this is good, right? So I looked at my girlfriend and I'm like, okay, here we go, right? So they were like, oh, yeah, that guy's fucked. I saw him on TikTok and this and that and that. And I just went, the guy's a fucking asshole, right? And they're like, what? I'm like, Mysterion's a dick. And they're like, oh, yeah? Why? I go, he's got his head so far up his ass, man. He's just a prick. And the guy looks at me and he goes, you are Mysterion. I said, you said my name like Beetlejuice. I just appeared.
It must have blown his mind.
Blew his mind. Photo, signed the stupid thing, you know. But it's funny how people just know you from the show. And we had we had Spenny on my girlfriend's show on her YouTube channel, Planet Lisdom. And she interviews different celebrities. And she had him on a little while back, not that, a month or so ago. And they were talking about the episode. And the amount of people that watch that show now is like fucking 4 times what was when it was out.
Yeah. It's become a complete cult show.
And you know it's back.
Yeah.
They're doing it again.
Yeah.
They're doing it again.
Yeah.
I got to get a hold of them. I want to do another cameo.
That's
I think
awesome.
I think it's well deserved. Maybe Steffi and I should do a cameo.
That's so cool. Yeah, that would be awesome. Because I know you guys reconnected not that long ago.
Yeah.
You did a live stream with them.
I did a live stream with them. Did I? I did.
Yeah,
I did a live stream with. That's right. I was on Spenny's show.
I'll be.
I appear daft. It's just that I have so much going on.
I'll be 100% honest with you. I love that you're here. I appreciate it. When I saw the Kenny vs. Spenny episode, you 100% creeped me out. Seeing the collection.
Good.
Can you tell us about?
My collection?
Because there's something I almost didn't touch on in the intro. You are a collector to the extreme.
Oh my God, I have like $1 million worth of really high-end stuff. So I collect 2 things. I collect toys.
Yep.
And that can go from anything from just action figures to whatever the hell I like. Wrestling, mainly. Well, wrestling was my main thing. I finished my wrestling collection. Like, let's face it, I'm not buying the new ones.
Yeah.
I don't
LJNs.
care. I don't care. I don't want 10 Rhea Ripleys. You know what I mean? Like, I don't care. I kind of stop at a certain point. I have the entire LJN set. Okay. I had them when they came out and I upgraded them. I have like almost a double set, the ones that matter. I have every Hasbro, including the mailaways. I had the entire AWA set except Doug Summers. I have them all. I have Mexican, CMLL, AAA, all of them. New Japan, all of it. WCW Galoob, all of it, including prototypes. And then I have a lot of the Jax guys that they made, just that I've accumulated over the years. I probably have at one point I had about 3,000 wrestlers. I'm probably down to about 1,500 because I got rid of a bunch of them and traded them to make space. I mean, I didn't need 3 Steve Blackmans. You know what I mean? Like, just get rid of the ones I don't care. I don't care about Road Dogg or whatever. Get rid of it, sell it. So I have a nice, clean, curated wrestling set. But then I have basically now I'm at the point where I'm like, I want every toy line from when I was like 8 prior to being 8. Like, so Mego, 70s Mego figures, Evel Knievel, Bionic Man, Superpowers, Mego Pocket Heroes, Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe, of course, Star Wars. Everything from knockoffs, stuff like Battlestar Galactica, stuff like, like, what do you call this stuff? Like, this is just like a little thing I have right here with figures on it of different figures that from my era. So do me a favor, just say stop on any line. When I go across, yeah, just say stop.
Stop.
Say stop on a figure.
Stop.
Do you know who that is?
I can't tell from the picture.
It's the Emperor.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
You want a closer look?
Yeah, got it.
What?
I didn't even realize we were doing a bit.
We were doing a bit. Rope them in.
This is crazy.
So I collect toys. I always have toys on me. Everyone's
hell,
like,
man?
you ever have action figures in your pocket? I'll tell you a funny story.
I'm checking my pocket.
I'll tell you something funny. I actually did a show once. I did a trade show once. And I had a figure of Dustin Rhodes in my pocket. And who comes up to the table? Dustin Rhodes. We were at Downsview Park. The Megan boys had Dustin Rhodes in to do a show at Humber College later that day. It was an afternoon show. They had their show at night. The Megan boys had their booth because they booked bar mitzvahs and all this shit. They had Dustin with them. He's walking around chewing gum, just looking around. I go, hey, what's going on? I said to the Megan, I pretended I didn't even know him. I said, hey, how you doing? Hi, I'm Dustin. Hey, I'm Chris. How you doing? I said, hey, I'm going to try something. So I looked at him and I went, and I took it out of my pocket. And I gave it to him and he went, what the hell? And they were blown away. They thought I knew he was going to be there. I didn't. It was a coincidence. I'd bought the figure at like a Walmart on my way there and just had it in my pocket. So they ended up booking me to manage Kazarni, Nick Sin. That was on the show that night and wrestled Dustin Rhodes. And then he gave me the Shattered Dreams. It was fun, awesome. Right? But yeah, I always have toys. So I have a big toy collection. I have everything. And then in the other room, it's all like as if you went to a Ripley's Believe It or Not museum. So I have everything from headhunting trophies from the headhunting tribes of Papua New Guinea and the Ifugao of North Philippines. I have elongated Peruvian human skulls. I have torture equipment from the Spanish Inquisition. There's freak animals, everything from a hydrocephalic cow to a two-faced cow. I just put an order in for a bunch of double-faced ducks. They're real. They're being diaphanized. Some are being kept the way they are. I have
what do
cursed items, haunted dolls. I have a witch's hand from the Middle Ages that was dried. I passed, and I keep kicking myself on this, but I passed on dominoes made from the skull of an executed witch. And I'm so mad. I would have fucking would have wore them on a necklace. I have necklaces of human fingers and teeth, and I used to wear them all the time until I lost them. Then I found them, and I was like, oh, they're staying in the museum.
What do people think when they come to the house for the first time?
People know.
Yeah, they know what they're getting themselves into. Yeah.
I mean, some people like okay. So in around the time I would have been on the Zone, I did a show for a group of young kids that were up on Young Boulevard, not too far from here, and I scared one of the girls so bad that on TikTok, over Halloween, she talked about the experience and she said, there's this guy Mysterion, I don't know if he's still around or not, whatever, told the story of this haunted doll, how it scared the crap out of her. And her name's Sam Doll. And everyone started tagging me like, dude, this guy's famous. Like you had him at his party. So I was in LA and I happened to have the doll on me because we were doing a Halloween show. And I always use this pink doll that I found once, this haunted doll. So I took it out in a video and I'm like, hey, Sam, look who came to say happy Halloween. So we ended up connecting and she came over to my house. And of course, she knew what she was getting into, but people are still just stunned when they see it for the first time because you can say, oh, okay, I got a human hand. Well, if I pull the human hand out of my bag right now, it might weird you out a bit. But what if you were in a room with like 40 of them or 40 different things like that, plus the other crap. So it's overwhelming, but I think they see it from a museum perspective. It's not overwhelming. It's in your house and you have a dead baby. It's a little overwhelming. All right. I get it. But it's, ethically sourced, fully legal.
Incredible.
I have a Kuman Thon, which is, basically it's a mummy that's been gilded, covered in gold, and it's used in black magic, and it's actually used to resurrect the dead. It's like the darkest talisman that I have. It's like the no-no piece. You don't touch it. You don't go near it. And everyone's like, I can't believe you handle it. And I'm like, I'm handling it, putting it on TikTok, making it dance. Nothing's happened.
None of that worries you?
No, it's just no, it doesn't do anything. I mean, I think it's all in the brain. I think that, psychology plays a big role in everything we do in this world, whether it be for entertainment or for reality. And if you're afraid of something, chances are it's just in your head. It's not a real fear. Fear is just a mechanism that's there to protect you. But most of the time, our fight or flight or our concept of what to be afraid of has been exaggerated. We aren't living in caves. So, you take a haunted doll and give it to a caveman, they're going to laugh at you. That's not a threat. You fast forward 10,000 years and all of a sudden there's no saber-toothed tiger. Where does our fight or flight get moved to? It gets moved to silly things like a haunted doll. And so I can kind of capitalize on that. And I know that what I'm doing may be mean, but it's entertainment.
No,
I wouldn't
yeah.
force it on somebody, but not to say like we were at Wonderland and there was a little girl and Steffi and I were there. And see, at Wonderland, to those who are listening that don't know, it's like a theme park, like a Six Flag. It's recommended 13 and over for the haunt, right? This kid was like 8. So we ended up talking to the mom and the kid afterwards, and I kept telling the kid that her house is haunted, and the kid's bedroom, there's a corpse under the bed and all sorts of stuff. And the kids started to get so freaked out. So they're walking away, freaking out, and then they come back after. They go, "Can you tell my daughter that what you just told her is untrue?" And I looked at her and I said, "Hun," I said, "I lied. I said, there's no ghost in your room." "Okay. It's in the hallway." You know? And so it's just like, there's no end to it, right? So Steffi's laughing. Steffi's like, "Chris, do you know that 2 weeks later, we get a phone call from the mom? They hired us to entertain at that kid's party. The kid loved it. Kids like being scared.
Yeah.
I don't care what anyone says. It's not mean."
Yeah. I think it's another guest I had on the podcast was Ron Wasserman. He was the guy who did the theme song for Power Rangers.
That's right.
Yeah, really amazing guy. Really
yeah.
cool. But one of the things we kind of talked about was that kids don't want to be treated like kids.
No.
He was saying tons of the kids' theme songs and that at the time were all like very soft, and Power Rangers just do. It's very guitar.
Absolutely.
And I remember as a kid, I loved that. I thought, okay, they're not treating it. This is cool. This is So I 100% see that you're treating them like the adults at the show. Of course, they're gonna want to see. It's cool. It's something they don't understand.
Yeah, absolutely. And then the funny, ironic thing is a lot of the time you got to treat adults like kids because they're idiots.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. Yeah.
I get hecklers all the time. I put them right in their place, man. We had a show over Halloween at the Revival, and a woman was smashed, and people were going, "Lady, drop it!" And I went, "Actually, everybody, lady, come up on stage." Right? She comes up on stage. Steffi gives me a look. She goes, I think Steffi muttered, "Oh, she's in for it now." You know, like she knew I was about to go and just bury her because I'm the best at that. So I brought her up, and then she's like, "You don't know my license plate." And I'm like, "Would you like me to tell you what your license plate is? If I tell you what your license plate is, are you going to be quiet?" Okay. And so it got to the point where I did. And then she's like, "What the fuck?" And I'm like, "You got to be quiet now." And I'm like, "Go back to your seat, sit on your hands." Like talk to her like she's in grade kindergarten, right? And at that point, the audience go, you can't beat this guy.
Yeah.
And that was the end of her, right? Adults are funny like that.
That's like it's like a comedy show or something, right? Like you see maybe newer guys will get rattled by a heckler in the crowd, or they'll want them to be quiet. The pros lean into it.
I love a heckler.
Is it? Yeah. That
I love them.
What about when you were
changes it up?
What about when you were newer?
Doesn't matter.
What about because
I was an ex-wrestling manager. Didn't matter.
This is awesome. This is exactly where I wanted this to go to.
See, it was wrestling, right?
But
it's all wrestling.
Is it not? Because something you do rely on audience participation and concentration, and you need people to kind of. Is it hard sometimes to get that from the crowd?
Depends on how I'm framing the show. So if I'm doing a corporate event and everyone's watching and it's a professional, clean, quiet, streamlined show where there's no drinking and it's not like a club atmosphere, it's easy. If it's a club atmosphere, I'll frame the show to be a little bit more chaotic. It'll have an element of looseness to it. So the presentation isn't as rigorous. It's a little bit more... I can have drunks. I can have hecklers. I can have somebody who shows up on stage and they're all gothed out and they look like a maniac, and that's good.
That plays into it. Yeah.
And then, now I don't know what band you're going to pick or what movie you're going to pick. Chances are you're not going to pick the movie that woman is going to pick. She's going to pick Pretty Woman. You're not.
Yeah.
And so there's that. I can do that. If I'm doing a show at like Revival or for my Sideshow festival, like my Sideshow festival, I'm not going to do a mentalism trick. I'm going to do a mentalism trick where like I have like 5 hooks in my five strings coming out of my mouth, and then I have everyone pull a hook, and the last one has a fish hook on it. You know what I mean? So like that would be the trick I would do, not something like pick a name of a band. Right?
Yeah, and that's just something that's come from time. Learn your audiences.
Know your audience. Yep. They know who I am. They're going to shut up. My audience doesn't talk. I mean, if they do, they're just going to get told to shut up by the other audience members. And then if they don't, I just bring them up on stage and and show them who's boss.
Can we talk a little bit? I want to jump into the America's Got Talent.
Yeah, sure.
Penn and Teller. This is more for me. Can you tell me a little bit more about the wrestling career?
Sure. So in the late 90s, I did some training. I sucked.
You were going to be a performer no matter what.
Yeah, no question.
Whether it was mentalism, it was wrestling.
Yeah. At that time
acting.
I had to work. You know, I had a day job. I did commercials.
Yeah. Yep.
You know, I did commercials. There's a couple commercials. I was in videos. I was in Misfits video. I was in a bunch of bands for
You're in a Misfits video?
Yeah, I'm in the Scream video. I run in and you can see my guts hanging out.
No way.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
so cool.
We all hung out at the Centenary Hospital. We all went down to the morgue. Me and Jerry Only and a couple others. We went into the morgue. It was just, you know, whatever. But I was
just a cool tidbit. I was in a Misfits video. Sure.
Well, I mean, it was 23 years ago. I truly don't even remember much. I was just there and filmed and then I left. But and George Romero was the director.
No way.
Which was wicked.
That must have been incredible for you.
Well, I
as
was
a
talking to
horror.
him more. The Misfits are great and all, but it's not, who cares? The Romero thing, I was chatting with him and he was a super
That's got to
nice
be
guy.
like your...
Yeah, he's the guy. And then I'd seen him many times in Toronto since then. And he remembered me, which was great because, you know, I was very unique looking at the time. I had red spiked hair so what was the question? I forgot.
We were talking, just the pro wrestling era.
So I did some wrestling training, did a couple shows as a manager, as a DJ that would then interrupt with the show. Cool. So we would have I would do the DJing. I would be visually there.
So you were a heel.
I would put the wrong music on for the faces.
That's heat.
I'd put the wrong music on for the faces. And then I had a couple of tag matches. And that was really about it because at that point, that company, they dissolved. They had a little bit of a situation going on with the talent. They dissolved. I stopped in the wrestling industry. Then I made a couple of appearances with Stranglehold, which is the wickedest, coolest hardcore wrestling from back in the day. Bill Scullion was the guy who ran them. And he is the toughest motherfucker you'll ever meet. He had these amazing shows where it was like ECW times 10. And I came in as Mysterion and I did a thing where I summoned the ghost of the Grand Wizard of Wrestling. So I became possessed. So all of a sudden I wore the turban and I wore the outfit that Ernie Roth would wear. And I would bring wrestlers to the ring and I was possessed. And then it just sort of fused into it being a combination of me. It just became my look for wrestling. But we brought in like the Bushwhackers and he had the Barbarian. And then there was other guys we'd have in. And then that stopped. And then I met, Buck Gunderson, and he said to me, because I was doing a few shows with various promotions, GCW out in Oshawa.
Yeah.
I did stuff with them, stuff in just different areas. And I said, I'm going to buy a ring. And everyone was going, don't do it. I said, I'm going to do what I want. So I bought a ring. Well, Ross and I got the ring. And then my friend owned the El Macombo at the time. So he would just give me the room on a Sunday. So I set up the room. I'd bring City TV. They would film it and they would fucking put it on the sports as if it was a sport. So cool. They'd give the results, you know, and then Rogers, I went to Rogers and I said, let me put it on Rogers. They put it on a Friday, I think it was at midnight. And then it went on to all the other satellite shows. It actually ended up on City TV at one point.
That's so
I didn't
cool.
even know. So it ended up on City TV and I was like, that's kind of fun. And then we did I did that for 6 years. We had no repeat shows. Can you believe that? In 6 years, we didn't have maybe the Halloween show. I think once we had to have a repeat because it was Christmas or something. But we had like every week was storyline driven and it was every week. It was 52 shows.
How long did it run?
6 years.
6 years. That's incredible.
I got out of it. The reason why we got out of it was because Rogers closed. Mm-hmm. I could have kept running it, but there was no platform to show it to the public. See, my money from that didn't come from the door. My money came from sponsorship. People would pay us to advertise their product on the show. So we could make the money, pay the talent, pay the venue or whatever we needed to do. We moved it over to Lula Lounge when they sold the Elmo, but we didn't have to rely on the gate. Without the sponsorship, it was pointless kind of. So I think he took it and sold it, and somebody bought the ring and sold it, and it just became now it's called Lucha something.
Oh, it based in Toronto?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hutch took it and changed it to Hogtown, and then it turned into this.
Yeah, it's not Lucha Underground. That's the
PCO was supposed to be in
I know
town
exactly.
last.
I saw a show they did in Kensington couple summers ago. It's awesome.
It's great.
Lucha Party?
Lucha
it's terrible. I can't think of it.
Something.
I've seen it.
But
they do a great show.
Yeah, PCO, you know him.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be in town just a month and a half ago, and my girlfriend was going to interview him on her show.
Oh, cool. Yeah, he was at the Destiny show. I was just at that. Yeah.
Was he at the Destiny show?
He main evented with it's brutal. I can't remember.
When was that?
It was right before Christmas.
Makes sense.
I saw it. It was.
What was the turnout?
It was great. It was right. They were doing.
Did they have?
They were doing half attendance, but it was still pretty good.
It was
it was pretty good. Yeah.
Well, I worked for them for a little while.
Yeah, they're awesome.
And then I got the boot.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
Yeah.
I did 4 episodes on their TV show, and then he just stopped bringing me on. I don't know.
I've totally, this slipped my mind. I have a good wrestling story for you.
Sure.
We attended the same event back in the day. You went to the Toronto one. I went to the Oshawa one. It was Ted DiBiase's church show. I heard you mention this, and I lost my mind when you brought this up.
You know, that was a fucking great.
It was an amazing card.
Great card.
Yeah, I saw the Road Warriors.
Was the Road Warriors. Yeah. That was their last appearance in Toronto.
Yeah, I saw the Oshawa one. It was either the day before or the day after.
Yeah, I saw the one.
He came to my high school. Ted DiBiase did.
I saw the one in Oshawa.
Was it at the church?
It was a big church.
It was huge, and they took us upstairs after.
I never went.
I went. I wanted to meet Ted DiBiase.
Well, I'd met Ted. I wanted to meet Greg the Hammer Valentine. I love Greg Valentine.
Buff Bagwell was there.
Yeah, the Missing Link was there, but I knew the Missing Link because he had trained me a couple times.
Oh,
Dewey was in the ring and showed me some stuff back, and that would have been 4 years earlier.
Yeah.
Who else was there?
I remember there was
Scotty O'Shea was there.
There was some great young. I remember because I was watching NWA TNA at the time. I remember they had some of the guys there. There was a ladder match. I want to say like Christopher Daniels was on it because it was awesome at the time.
It was a great show.
It blew my mind. It was like, this is coming to the church in
Oshawa.
The
Road Warriors were there. Blew my mind.
It was I believe like Buff Bagwell was there.
Buff Bagwell was there. Yeah, Valentine and Bagwell against
the Road Warriors was the main event.
And Pinball Clemens was there, the football player. Yeah.
That's insane. Right?
I mean, it's just so crazy. I remember we were gonna go in to the all-night prayer fucking smash down or whatever they called it. And we went in. I was with 2 friends of mine. And we went in, and then we turned around and left. And they had someone chase after us. They go, you don't want to come in and find Jesus? I said, no, I want to go in and find Greg Valentine.
It's my mom tells a story all the time. I went with a buddy from school, and I guess they picked us up after. And she goes, how was the wrestling show? And my buddy goes, tried to brainwash us.
Oh yeah, they sure did.
It took a real turn, man, because the Road Warriors pinned Buff Bagwell, and the next thing you know, Jesus is getting nailed to the cross.
I know, and all of a sudden, Hawk has fallen down to his demons. Like, I regret not meeting the Road. I mean, I'd met Animal, I'd never met Hawk.
Yeah,
I have Paul Ellering's autograph, Animal's autograph. I don't have Hawk's autograph. I wish I had it.
That's got to be. That's your era too, right? Like
80s.
Yeah.
I remember, I'll tell you this. I've seen live wrestling. I've seen, think of a couple good ones. I saw Andre the Giant wrestle Kamala in a steel cage at Maple Leaf Gardens. That was one that I saw.
Those garden shows are just legendary.
They're sick. I saw the Funk Brothers fight Andre in a 2-on-1 match live. I've seen Hogan fight everybody. I saw Rick Rude versus Macho Man Randy Savage. That was a good one. I saw, but early, like I even went to like the Mid-Atlantic shows that were around when I was like 8. I'd go occasionally. I saw what's his name? I just mentioned him. Valentine versus Flair. And they were connected by a dog collar.
The dog collar match.
Yeah,
wow.
I saw him against Flair. I was so young, I had a hard time telling them apart because they're both blonde and like, you're a stupid kid. But I remember it was a bloodbath.
Yeah.
I saw the original Sheik. I saw Ricky Steamboat and Jay Youngblood as a tag team. I saw Bob Roop and Sergeant Slaughter as a tag team. I saw at Maple Leaf Gardens. Oh my God, I saw everybody. Demolition, multiple times Demolition. Fuck, I used to go with Demolition makeup on. I used to see, that was later. That was like 87. I was like 13. It's too old to be doing that. Then there was, who did I see that was like, I saw Ric Flair. I saw Rick. You know what I saw? The best one I saw was really weird. The best one I saw was Ric Flair against Piper. Mm-hmm. It would have been about 90 or 91. It was when Flair came to the E for the first time, and Flair pinned Piper by putting his feet on the ropes.
Oh, it was a
clean pin, Bob, cheap, but it was a clean pin. And it was a great match. And I remember that same card. So I'll tell you a funny story. So was it the same card? Could have been. I was sitting on one end of the front row ringside. I used to always get front row because I knew somebody in the gardens. And the Rockers were fighting the Nasty Boys. And I started up. No. There was this woman at the end of the same row, but on the opposite end. And she started up with blah, blah, blah. I love you, Shawn Michaels, and blah, 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 and this, that, whatever. And have you ever been in the gardens?
I have, yep. Yeah. I was a young lad, but I saw
the acoustics in this place were amazing because if the room was quiet, which a lot of the time during the wrestling show, the room was quiet, you could hear someone drop a pin, especially if you're down on the ground. So everyone could hear this girl screaming at the Rockers. And I was about 16 at the time. And I turned to her and I said, shut the fuck up. So the whole room, the whole audience started laughing because they were thinking what I said. So she stood up and started losing it on me, right? I'm going to tell you, I know who this was. I'm not going to say who it is because I don't want to embarrass her. But this was a person who came to my wrestling shows 25 years later. She's still actively in the audience at wrestling shows. And I don't want to sound, I'm going to say something that's not really nice, but she started going off again. I started going off on her and she goes, what did I ever do to you? And she was a little on the heavy side. And I said, well, for one, you ate my lunch. Well, the Gardens just started laughing and the Nasties came down, gave me a high five, right? It was such a great heat spot. And of course, babyface Shawn jumps down, gives her a hug, and it was just the greatest thing. Now, the funny thing about that story is that I had shelved it, forgot about it, and I was on a wrestling forum online, and they were talking about different shows at the Gardens, and they were like, do you remember this time that this thing happened? And it was the Michaels and the Nasties. And there was this one guy with a mohawk ripping on this girl who we know who it was. And then I chip in and I go, yeah, that was me. So it's funny because when I would be at the wrestling shows that I produced or ones that I was on, when she would be in the audience, I would still rip her, right? We did this wicked show. It was all like superhero themed wrestling. Like I was Professor X and somebody was Spider-Man or whatever. And I came out in a wheelchair, like dressed like Professor X with the bald cap on. Like it looked great. It looked great. And this girl's in the audience freaking out. And I go right up to her just to embarrass her. And I go, yeah, Cerebro was right. There is a mutant in our audience, right? And the room just roared. So I've always been on this poor girl's fucking case, right? So anyway, it started at Maple Leaf Gardens.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's incredible. Those Maple Leaf Garden shows are just legendary. Like my dad tells me about them all the time.
Yeah.
It's like church. Like,
and you used to, every Sunday. And there was also, for a little while in like 86, you could see Montreal wrestling at Varsity Stadium and it was outside.
Do you think your love for pro wrestling, seeing these characters, the gimmicks, stuff like that, do you think that helped you commit to being a character? Yeah.
No question about it. There's absolutely no question about it. I cut promos.
Yeah.
I constantly cut promos. If I didn't have wrestling, I'd be a terrible entertainer. I'd be boring. like the majority of mentalists that are out there. They're boring. Sorry, guys, you're boring. It's true.
And it's that over the top gimmick persona of pro wrestling that kind of helped you differentiate yourself.
You got to make it look real.
Well, it's kind of always been your thing. While you were coming up, you created the gimmick of showing people, the scar on the belly. What do you want to see in the
That's a wrestling. Well, it's a carnival gimmick.
Yeah.
Wrestling's carnival.
Wrestling's carny. Yeah.
Wrestling's a carnival gimmick.
Absolutely.
I mean, I work Coney Island. I mean, a lot of people don't know that. I go down to Coney Island and do appearances. That's like the hub of the carnival scene of America. That is American Sideshow is based in Coney Island. So, I could go on and, I have friends who are, at lack of a better term, they're self-called freaks. I have people who have, my friend Dev who has shortened arms and she has like lobster hands and she does the snake girl act. And I have friends that are little people. And I had a friend who was a giant. He was like 7'3" or something. Like I have all these people that I work with all the time. And it's a very interesting industry because it's a dead industry, yet it's still alive in an underground way. Steffi and I went down to Louisiana and we did the Southern Sideshow Festival. And I run a sideshow. I'm running one in March in Toronto on March 20th. And I have all kinds of pain-proof acts and, the Sentimentalists are on it. And we have an oddities market. You can buy weird stuff,
Definitely. So here's a little more info.
Yeah.
We'll be sure to put all this up on the screen. This is the event
that's
you're talking
it there.
about.
And then you can see that's the girl right there up on the top left with the hands. No, above Steffi with the striped bra. See her arms? She has like lobster hands. But yeah, and then that guy's a strong man and he like lifts things with his eyeballs. And, it's just crazy. It's like Jim Rose only.
If this is feel free to tell me whatever. You can't answer this. Sure. Is it with the way things are today in society, the way people are more people are more sensitive with stuff? I don't care. Is it hard to run?
No.
An event like this? No, like a quote unquote freak show?
No, because the freaks are the ones that are fucking running it.
Yeah.
The truth is, let me put it this way. To anybody here's a very interesting perspective on a lot of these things. People don't know a lot of the time what they're talking about. They come from a place of compassion, but what they're actually doing is counteracting somebody's income. So when you think about the freak shows in the early turn of the century, last century, I should say, yes, there were people who were intellectually challenged. Yes, there were people who were half man or hermaphrodite, whatever the case might be, that were on display. Okay, I'm not going to debate that there is a bit of a questionable thing to that. They would have been either institutionalized or locked in someone's basement in their home. The family would hide them away. Okay, that was the day. That's what it was. Okay, so you can't unwrite that. You can't change that fact. The only job they could have had was being on display in a circus. Do you know how much money Schlitzie made? Schlitzie the pinhead. He had microcephaly. Schlitzie made the equivalent of about $1 million a year in today's money. Just standing there. And from all the reports, he loved people. He had people come up with him, take photos with him. He would hang around, play with the children, and he lived a happy life. He would hang out until the 70s. He would hang out in a park on Coney Island and feed the pigeons, and people would come up to him, I love you, Schlitzie. Oh my God, Schlitzie the pinhead. He was famous. All these performers made so much money. Some of them, they couldn't spend it as fast as they were making it. And in the late 50s, a lot of organizations came in and they said, look, this isn't right. We're going to shut these things down. We're going to get them trailers. They're all going to live in Gibtown. And all of a sudden they live in a fucking trailer park with no income, on a fixed income of a couple $100 a month, and miserable. These are show people. These are people who want to be in the show. Nobody was contrary to what anyone believes, nobody was forced. No one was kidnapped and brought into a sideshow. That didn't happen. Never happened. So I look at these shows as a revival and celebration of, I like to call, human marvels. So people who are able to overcome whatever they consider a disability. I don't consider it a disability. I consider it a different person, somebody with a different anatomy, okay? So Deb, for example, has arms that we may not be able to use if you were to trade with me right now. I wouldn't be able to operate my life as her, but yet she does these she does a contortion act and can go through a tennis racket, and
Incredible.
she's the snake girl. Like, it's great, So I've never had any complaints. The only complaints I've had was like very few. Like, I've had a couple of people be like, are you sure about this? Or, listen, you go ask any of my staff if they're happy.
Yeah.
They're all very happy, and I pay them very well.
No, I do just wonder because things can really slide to extremes nowadays.
Yeah, but it doesn't matter to me.
Cool.
I don't listen to people.
Awesome.
That's the difference. See, I know a lot. Like, listen, not to get political. My theory on life. Here's my theory on life. It's so simple. It's a rhyme we all know. Ready? It's gonna blow your mind right now. Row, 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 your boat. Your boat.
Yeah.
Not mine, yours. Gently. Just gently down the stream. Just be you. Don't give a shit. Do it merrily, because it's all an illusion. Life is but a dream. That's what that means. It means just mind your own fucking business. Relax. If you have to ask a question, and don't imagine that the answer is going to be so polarized. Because you want to know something? I go outside. It's not chaos outside. It's just the world.
Yeah.
It's always going to be the world. So when I look at these kind of situations, I mean, I have performers they've been on my show and go, Chris treats me the best. Same with the burlesque. They'd be like, oh my God, no, he's the best. Like, does he ever go in the, I bet you he goes in the change room and peeks at you. No, he's upstairs probably hanging out with his mom. You know what I mean? People have to understand to just ask a question and listen to the answer. All you need to do.
I love that analogy. Yeah, it's and focus less on other people's boats.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about what other people do.
Yeah.
Are they in your house? Are they taking your money? Are they taking your food off your plate? No. Don't worry. Most of the time, and also, like, I look at it from both sides. Like, I'm not political. Obviously, I lean left. I'm very open-minded with everything. But both sides of any argument think they're doing the right thing.
Yeah.
They do, right? Unfortunately, they may not be acting the right way to get that across. And there has to be a little bit of sugar instead of shit.
Yeah.
Because you're going to attract more flies with sugar.
Yes.
I will sit down with somebody with a radical view on something that I find deplorable. And I'll ask them, hey, why? And I'll listen, I'll hear them through.
Yeah.
And then I break them apart piece by piece. And you wouldn't believe how many people have changed.
Well, I do think, again, not to get crazy political or anything, but I do think, like you said, a lot of times even people with warped views and stuff, it's all, they're trying to help their family, or they're trying, at the end of the day, people just kind of want to take care of themselves and their loved ones. And it's row your boat.
Yeah,
man.
row your boat.
I really like that.
Fuck off. Mind your own business.
Yeah.
I'm in my boat. I'm not disrupting yours. And, I never had, like I said, I never have had issues with these. These shows, when we did them at Mod Club, were over capacity. And we're talking everyone likes to see someone take a fucking staple to the face. Everyone likes to see someone get kicked in the nads.
Yeah.
What's more entertaining than a little person doing a jig on someone lying on a bed of nails? I don't know.
I
think it's pretty cool.
I'd
right?
be hard pressed to tell you.
It's low brow. It's the lowest brow you can get. I'm not debating that, but it's lowest common denominator. But it's that is actually one of the earliest forms of American entertainment.
Absolutely
is the sideshow, is the carnival.
So there's the poster again. This will be out long before, so March 20th revival. We'll put all the info,
please,
on the screen and the links and everything, guys. If you want to see an incredible event.
Oh, there's 4 people on there that hold Guinness World Records. There's 3 acts that have been on Fool Us. Oh, 2 acts on Fool Us, 3 on AGT. It's a full star lineup.
Yeah, we'll put all the info out, and I'm gonna make it out to that. It's gonna be awesome,
do.
man. Absolutely. So while we're talking AGT and Fool Us, that's kind of your some of your defining moments of your career.
One of them is winning, or not winning, but fooling Penn and Teller.
Yeah. So which one? Penn and Teller was second.
First.
That was first?
That was first.
Okay, so let's talk about that right away, because Penn Gillette is somebody who I really admire. I've read a bunch of his books. I just think he's an incredible person, very smart person. I can't speak for you, obviously, but I got to figure for somebody in your field, that's got to be somebody who is
you're not looking at a human being, you're looking at a demigod. You know, like it's pretty weird. It was very intimidating.
And I've watched the episode where you got, and they it wasn't light. They came and inspected everything you guys did. Can you walk me through like that scenario?
Sure. So first off, let's remember that Penn Jillette does not like mentalism. For many reasons. I think the main, and this is only my speculation. I think the main reason he doesn't like it is because some people use it for duping people. Okay. I think on the other side of it, I think it can be boring.
Can I sidebar you 1 sec?
Yeah.
Do you have an opinion on that?
I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Okay.
You want to do it? If you're dumb enough, listen, I'm not going to crusade and go on this mad crusade to stop people. Mm-hmm. If somebody is going to turn to a mentalist for life advice, then they're too far gone. They're too far gone. I'm not going to spend my life hunting people down to warn them of the dangers of mentalism. Down the hall, there's a psychic.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. You know, I don't have the time for that. If somebody asks me, hey, can you speak to my dead grandfather? I'll say, yeah, absolutely. But I won't hear anything back. You know, and that's the truth. You know, hey, Gramps, are you there? I'm speaking to him. I don't hear anything. See ya. You know, so I don't leave it. I leave it just like I got other stuff to do. But I understand why he feels the way he does.
I do just wonder for somebody who's got obviously an insane amount of talent. Yeah. You could use your stuff towards that,
I could be the next John Edwards.
I do wonder if that was
kind
of fairly skilled mentalist.
No, I would never do that. Okay. I do it for entertainment. I think anybody who does go that route is just slimy. Okay. They're just slimy.
Yeah. That was just kind of a sidebar.
Yeah, I don't know anyone who does it for that. I don't know anyone who charges for readings and that sort of thing.
Cool. So demigod.
So yeah, we got Penn. So what had happened was we were in Ottawa. We were doing a run at the Dominion, and I don't know how it came up, but Steffi said, let's go on Fool Us. And I thought, I don't know, man. And she goes, well, let's just apply. So we applied with an effect where the audience member picks a celebrity name and they guess it, or she guesses it. They turned it down. They said, we don't use pre-show, which would mean maybe we had someone write it down on a piece of paper and there was a carbon paper underneath. And then I look at it. You know, that works in the real world. We don't do that, but it's something. We don't do setups or using stooges. Okay. I said, listen, this is not at all what it is. It's exactly as you saw. So the person who was booking it said, no, it ain't. That doesn't exist. Now you got to remember, we invented what we do. So they'd never seen it before. So they only have their own point of reference. So we said, well, can we send you something else? And it was like down to the wire for applications. So we said, no, okay, no problem. We don't get on that season. Spoke to Amazing John and his wife. She said, why didn't you put a big money machine, you know, and have people put things in it and grab them? And then I said, fuck, that's a great idea. So I phoned my friend who owns an agency in Toronto that rents out that kind of stuff. And I said, can we come to the warehouse and film? You know, yeah, sure. Come. We did it. He had his staff. We did a sort of a mock-up of what it would look like on the show. We filmed it. We sent it to them. They said, yeah, absolutely. Come in and do it. So they arranged when we were going to go. We flew out and they got us a wind machine and they set it all up. And they keep you pretty segregated so you don't talk to the other acts and it remains secret. We did a quick dry run with no one in the audience just to get our footing. And then you're waiting and then they're like, okay, guys, come on up. And then we go up, we do the trek, and I mean, you would know I was freaking nervous as hell, but I'm nervous, right?
This is like the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
This is for a mentalist here.
Well, I'm looking at Penn and Teller, and I'm performing, right? So I'm going, all right, you know.
And you're trying to fool the guys.
I wasn't trying to fool them. We went on just to show something. But our intention wasn't to fool them.
But you're doing it with the guys who know.
Yes. They didn't know.
Which seasons?
They didn't know. And afterwards, you see, I think I know why they didn't know. And I think it's because there's so many people out there using current methods that rely heavily on things like electronics, devices, cameras, little thumpers and things that you can relay information back and forth, Apple Watches, somebody talking into an earpiece. I think that they thought that we're lazy, that we would go into that direction. So they weren't looking for other stuff. They were looking just for, well, what are they using? A thumper, an earpiece, a camera. What is it? They weren't looking at what it wasn't, right? And so that's where, if I can't tell you the beats, I can't tell you the beats, but let me put it this way. By the time they started to get on to what was going on, the dirt was already done. So they were screwed. So they watched it. They loved it. We won, or we got the trophy. We went off stage. I was just like, what? She was jumping up and down. I'm like, kind of like after the fact, like an hour later, I'll freak out. But they were like, don't say anything to the other acts. Don't tell them, because, whatever. We go backstage, the director comes running up. Oh my God, let's take a photo. He's holding the trophy. All their acts are watching. And I'm like, oh man. Okay. So we do that. We go eat. I don't remember what happened then. After that, we went up to our rooms. We may have went home the next day. I don't remember, but we went home. Then they said, when can you come back? And then they said, I said, whenever. So we flew back. That might have been in May. We came back in September of 2018 or 2017, I think it was. And 2018, I think. And we went back, and then they had us to open, to do our spot on their show. Like, they would have their show, and then we would come out and do just that trick. But I don't know why. I have footage of them going, well, today we're going to open for them because we're going to give them the whole show. They can do their whole show. So I'm like, oh, come on. So we had already known we were going to do the whole show. So Penn goes, we're opening for the Sentimentalists tonight. We're just laughing. I'm like backstage, like, what the hell's going on? So we went out and we didn't do the trick we did on Penn and Teller's Fool Us. We did other stuff. And they sat in the wings and watched. And I didn't want to do too much. We performed for like 25 minutes. Any more is kind of rude.
Keep it tight.
Yeah, keep it tight. 25 minutes, 4 tricks. Good night, everybody. You've been in here long enough. It's not about us anyway. It's their show. We went to the green room. We hung out with them for a couple hours. Penn had to leave after about an hour. He had something to do. Teller hung out for a while. And Teller was so enamored with Steffi and what we do. He kept telling us he kept pulling up images on his phone. And one of the images I remember was pink toilet paper that was rolled into a rose. And within 2 seconds, she told him what it was. And he just said, it's great. It's just great. And then we chatted, and we had cookies and cake, and off we went. And then they gave us the trophy. And then we only got one, and then we arranged it so we could get a second for her. Because I was going to have it cut right down the middle. And they were like, no. We'll give you, we'll set it up.
Can I ask you, and feel free to tell me this is off limits. Did you reveal after to Penn and Teller? Yeah.
I told them in the back. Well, the rule is that you tell their committee, because if you're an argumentative
because
magician,
you could deny.
Well, how it works, and I think I'm allowed to say this, how it works is that you expose it to the committee. While they're deciding, they call up and say, we think it's this. And then the committee says no. Now, at that point, they've locked in their answer. So now when they're talking to you, they know they've already lost. So now they're going through their motions. Now, if he came up on stage and saw what we did and figured it out,
they're not going to ignore it.
We still lost. They still lost.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because they couldn't figure it out by watching us.
Okay.
It's not they can't figure it out by coming up and examining. It's they can't figure it out by watching it.
Okay.
So they had already, but even when they came up, they couldn't find anything. So we told them afterwards a little bit more about how we did it, and then demonstrated it, and they were pretty impressed, which was great.
It must feel amazing. Like,
it was a weird feeling. I don't know what it was. I think it was just a weird feeling. It was more like, oh, okay, that happened.
You almost like dunked on one of your heroes.
Yeah.
It's got to be a strange feeling.
It's a weird feeling, yeah. And then that trick that we originally had pitched, we did with Allison at the half point. Because I said to her, write down the name of a celebrity. She wrote down Elvis, and Steffi told her. Nowhere else on the history of Penn and Teller's Fool Us does the magician do a trick for the host. We're the only ones. And we snuck that in to show them it wasn't set up. The original trick was not set up. We just snuck it in.
You know what's cool? I wanted to ask you about that because it really does kind of seem like you caught them off guard when you added that.
Yeah, I did. I did that on purpose.
That's so cool.
You're not supposed to.
Yeah.
But I don't play by rules.
What about AGT?
AGT was interesting. I liked it. I liked the crew.
Yep.
I liked the experience. I liked the overall atmosphere. Everybody was very supportive, and they treat you very well.
A real quick, AGT, anybody, America's Got Talent,
Yeah.
season 14.
Season
you were
14.
a quarterfinalist.
That's a good. I didn't even know it was season 14.
I did. I'm a big researcher.
You looked? Yeah, I don't even know. Half the stuff I've done, I'm like, oh.
What do you mean? You got credits to your name.
Yeah.
It's hard to keep track of it all.
So my honest opinion on AGT, I think that they are a great brand to perform as any kind of whatever it is you do.
Sure.
It's a TV show. It doesn't reflect your act, and it doesn't define your act. So we went on with different expectations, and we came out with different outcomes. And it was positive. It was interesting. It was challenging. It was different than we anticipated. And we plan to go back to another Got Talent brand when that opportunity comes up.
Awesome.
Yeah, we will be still working under their banner. But as for AGT itself, we're not going back to the American section of it because it's the big one and they already have existing acts that are similar to us. So it's not fruitful for what we need to do.
That is cool to know that there will be some new stuff coming out. Is what
You'll wait.
us.
You'll see. In a few months'
Sentimentalists will be
time,
back?
there's some pretty good stuff. Yeah, we have stuff planned for the next few months. I can't say what, but on par
That's
with
awesome.
level. We were talking to some production companies in the States. One of the other shows that are running out of Vegas right now, we're talking to them. And I mean, we're talking to television producers for Netflix, but they don't know what to do. They don't know what to do with us. They're going, I don't understand it. What is it? Like David Blaine, we're like, no, it's not. And so we just got to get a little bit more clout. And I think that we're going to have that opportunity.
Awesome, man. No, that's so cool. I wish you nothing but the best in the future. Like you guys have got, I mean, we've seen some crazy stuff just in the studio here. Oh,
there's a ripped page. Ignore it.
Here we go.
All right. Open the book to any page you like.
All right.
Any page at all. Don't tell me what page it is. Just find a page.
Yep.
And I want you to look at the page.
Yep.
And find a word longer than the word podcast.
Longer, okay.
Longer than the word podcast. Yep. You got one?
I've got it.
You sure? Want to change your mind?
Nope. I'm out.
Okay, close the book. Close the book. Okay. Just the first letter of the word, if you would say it out loud.
The first letter?
Yeah.
W.
A W. Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Okay, because that's what I had written on the paper. I want you to, and then an I.
Yep.
And then an L.
Yep.
Do me a favor. Forget about the page number.
Okay.
And in your mind, flip the book to another page.
Forget about the page number?
Yeah, forget about the page number.
Like try to get the same one or different?
Yeah, different page number now.
Okay.
Don't open it yet.
Okay.
Just tell me a page number that comes to your mind.
28.
Why 28?
No reason.
No reason at all?
No.
Is it because it's what I had written on the paper? And what was your word? And what's written on the paper?
That's crazy, man.
What does it say on the paper so everyone can see?
I was even...
Wilderness? I'm going to actually write something here.
Hey.
I want you to help me out. I want you to help me out. I want you... What was that? Ghosts? I want you to help me out. I want you to pass me the book.
Yep.
And again, we're going to do this psychic thing. I'm going to think about a page number. I want you to tell me what page number you think it is.
69.
No, it's not 69. That's the one everyone goes for. It's not that one.
Because that was the number I was thinking, and I changed it because I thought it was inappropriate to 28.
28?
So let me think. Okay, number.
Any number at all.
I'd say 100.
Okay. There are 100 pages in this book. I'm afraid I'm going to have to actually ask you again to think of another page number. I actually made an error. I was thinking of 100, but didn't realize this book has only 97 pages. So we're going to do it again because I use different books.
Okay.
Okay, think of any number. We can edit that out. Think of any number between 1 and 190. I'm sorry. Think of any number between 1 and 97.
Okay.
Okay. When you got one, let me know.
Yep.
Say it.
45.
Okay, that's good. Because there is a page 45 in here. And you'll notice...
Oh, that says wilderness?
No, it doesn't say wilderness anywhere, I don't think. But you'll notice that all the words on this page are different.
Yep.
And it doesn't matter what page you're on, you're always going to find all these different words. So what I'm going to ask you to do is I want you to note that this book, it's about cryptids. It's about basically entities that are unknown, things like Bigfoot, this sort of thing. But it also could theoretically cover humans with powers. So I'm going to take my finger and I want you to say stop as I bring it down the page.
Stop.
Okay? And I want you to say stop on a word.
Stop.
Okay. Read that word out loud for everyone to hear. It's an S word right there. It says
symbol.
Symbol. So I didn't touch this, and you picked that page, and so I knew the page number. I'd written down the page number. You were only looking at it. I knew the word you were looking at. I didn't say anything. I told you at the beginning that everyone can do this. What does that say?
It's a symbol, man.
And there's your word, and your number.
What?
And that's what I do.
Yeah, that's incredible. Yeah. I don't know where we take it from here.
Today's podcast has been brought to you by Cam H, where he will end up tonight.
That's crazy, man. Here's my...
There you go.
Put those in the camera right there. This is wild. Go see the show. Go check it out. I'm at a loss for words. I think we gotta call it here, man. You've blown my mind.
Thank you.
This is Gabbin with Gavin, episode 24. Thank you to Town Brewery. We're at 1990 Studios, and a huge thank you to my guest, Dr. Mysterion the Mind Reader, for coming through.
You're very welcome.
Blowing our mind. I can't wait for everybody to check this out. This is crazy. I'm gonna call my mom when this is done.
Oh, nice.
Anything you want to promote? You got the show coming up.
Just that. If they want to come on TikTok and check out what I do, it's at Dr. Mysterion, Dr. Mysterion. Check out the Sentimentalists on Facebook, on Instagram for listings. As now things are opening up, we're going to be doing a tour. But my own stuff, it's under the Dr. Mysterion brand. I mean, keep your eyes peeled. Yeah.
It was something I touched on at the beginning, and I think anybody who's watched this whole interview has really appreciated it now. I think you're an underrated guest. I think people don't, if your name doesn't jump out, it's an incredible thing you do. I can't explain it. And I had my mind blown doing my research for this, and to see it in person is even crazier.
I think from the perspective of my career, everything happens for a reason. I think that patience is the answer. I think that, I've been given opportunities a lot of people haven't been given. I do sometimes look at them and go, why aren't I not on a main stage somewhere? Maybe it's because I'm not ready at this point. Maybe there's other things that are about to happen. It was going to blow up. 2020 was supposed to blow up. And as you know, I said it earlier on, it just kind of went, for everybody. So let's say this next couple of years are going to be those opportunities that we just kind of missed. But like I'm headlining the Magic Castle. That's freaking awesome. Like, that means I've made it, right?
Yep. Yeah. I sincerely wish nothing but the best for you.
Thank you.
And I think you're clearly an extremely talented guy.
Thank you.
You deserve what's coming to you. And thank you very much for joining us today. This has been an absolute pleasure having you.
Pleasure. And I'll see you in my favorite place. You know where that is? The future.
There we go. Awesome. Thank you for tuning in, everybody.